Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is another day that the Lord has made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated, where we have the great opportunity and the privilege to bring to you hope, encouragement, and inspiration. And we're so grateful to God that He's allowed us to do that. Let me bring in my co host.
Hello, everyone. My name is Takira Swan, and I am so happy to be here with you today. We have some guests here. One is a return guest, which I just love so much. She's so sweet. And we have a new guest today from very, very far. I will let her tell you where she's from in a minute. But before we get started, I just want to remind you all to go to our YouTube page, like, share, subscribe, because that's how you help us spread hope, encouragement, and inspiration to the entire world.
To the entire world. Takira's going to always, after she says it, she's always going to hear me say it because I love to say it.
Yes.
God allows us to share hope, encouragement, and inspiration across the whole wide world. And we're grateful to God for that. Well, as Takira has stated, we have a returning guest and we have a new guest with us today, a newfound friend. Margaret Heighton has been one that was on our program a few months ago. It seemed like it was just almost yesterday. She's a lively, feisty 70-year young woman who enjoys the work that she does and talks about spreading love around the whole world. And I think that's part of what connected us together, that it didn't matter what color, it didn't matter what age, but her focus is in Kenya. And we are so grateful that God has someone here in America that loves people so much that she reaches into Kenya and shares her love so much that she introduced me to one of her friends. And now she's a part of the team. We're friends all over. So, Margaret, first, let me thank God for putting us together. And I thank you, Margaret, for accepting our invitation to come and be on Project 365. Then I want to thank you for introducing me to Grace, that she is now on Project 365, so that we can just share love all over the world. So we're grateful to God. And I am going to give you the honor to introduce our guest on today, Margaret. So I'm going to step back and I'm asking you if you would so graciously introduce our guest for today.
Thank you. Grace and I became Facebook friends in June of 2016 after my daughter Heather had met her just a little bit before that in Kenya. When I went to Kenya a few months later in 2016, our paths crossed, but we didn't exchange conversation. It was my second day and I was unsure about what the proper protocols were under the circumstances. And so we saw, but didn't hear. It was, our friendship continued though, and by the time I planned my trip for October 2018, there was no doubt that Grace and I would finally meet and embrace. At the end of my trip, we spent a few wonderful days together. Grace gave up her bed for me, she fed me, and made sure my needs were met. We laughed and cried as we shared stories of our lives as mothers, women, and caretakers. Our friendship grew solid and firm. She is one of my trusted advisors for my nonprofit work in Kenya. Grace is accomplished and multi-talented. She works wonders with beads from necklaces, which I'm wearing one of her necklaces today. And also she sews, and I'm wearing one of her creations as well. So, and if I remember correctly, she also crochets. I am wearing, she speaks at least 3 languages, Ma, Swahili, and English. She is educated and a teacher by profession. Her calling and passion, though, is being an advocate and a mentor for the downtrodden and poor. Grace has her own business, Graceland Sewing Center, operates a rescue service for girls escaping early marriage and FGM, which is female genital mutilation, and she runs her own charitable foundation. She is raising 4 sons on her own and has rescued and mentored countless other young men and women along the way. I look forward to the time that Grace and I will embrace again in love and in Kenya. Grace, the time is now yours to share your story.
Thank you very much, Margaret. And I'm so privileged. I'm so privileged to be here today. This is an honor. It's my first time, so I might be a bit anxious, a bit nervous, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Portia. Thank you, Takira, for hosting me. And I'm so glad that I get this chance to tell my story. My story is not unique. It's not an extraordinary story. It's just a story of of many African Maasai women who were born and raised in a culture which has so many strong cultural practices, but we are here today. My name is Grace, as you know. Namunyak is my Maasai name. Namunyak means lucky. So I'm a mother of 4, as Margaret has already said, and also I'm a grandmother to 1 beautiful girl. I'm a firstborn of 8. I have 1 sister and 6 brothers. I was born and raised in Narok. That means my vernacular language is Maasai. For most of people who have been to Kenya, the Maasai are one of the greatest communities that people visit, especially when they come to the Maasai Mara to see the wildlife. I went to school in a school called Kapkenda Girls, which is so far away from where I am, where I was brought up, and later trained as a teacher in a college called Igoji. I taught for 12 years as a trained teacher, as an employee of the Teacher Service Commission. So that is my small background, my small, the little I can say about my education. When I was teaching, I've been teaching in remote schools. I went to very remote schools that are in the interior of Narok. And during my teaching career, my childhood was brought back, like everything that I went through as a girl, as a small Maasai girl, came back because I was teaching in remote Maasai areas. I'm the president and founder of a Namunyak Foundation, a foundation that rescues young Maasai girls from early marriage and female genital mutilation. I know this is something very uncommon to you guys, but in Africa, and especially in my community, it's a practice that has dominated for very, very many years. Although in the recent past, the government and so many other people have joined hands to make sure that the practice is stopped, and even the law is against it. So as the president of the Namunyak Foundation, I am also a Rotarian. So I am a Rotarian. I work humanitarian projects with my Rotary Club. Although my Rotary Club, I joined Rotary recently after I founded the foundation. This community is one that I love my tribe. I love the Maasai community. It's one of the most fascinating cultures that one can experience. There are so many authentic and good cultural practices, but some of them are very, very harsh. And being a survivor of all those, my childhood triggered was like my beginning, or the foundation of my organization was triggered by my childhood, how I was brought up, how I learned what was going on, the things that I experienced growing up. So that is my childhood triggered much about what I am doing today. Growing up, I grew up with my aunts. I had several aunts who were not so much older than me, so I could learn a lot from them. And I also learned a lot from my grandmother, who I lived with for some part of my younger age. So when I started teaching, I thought maybe this is what God wants me to do. I am here to support these girls. I didn't know exactly how I could start it. So it took me some time to know how to start it. I could pity with them, I could cry with them, I could talk with them, but I had no idea how I could help them. So being an advocate of those very harsh cultural practices, I decided to start rescuing one girl after another. So the first girl I rescued, she was around 12 years old. She used to bring milk, sell milk to different homes. So she used to bring milk to my house, and I could ask her, why are you not in school? Why don't you come to school? She says, I can't come to school because I'm already married off. So I was like, so you can't go to school? And she said, no, dowry has already been paid. So I'm just waiting for the husband to come, pay whatever was remaining, and then I go to my husband. So with time, I started convincing her slowly by slowly, talking to her. Every morning she comes at, have you decided? She says, no. Every time she comes, have you decided? I am afraid I cannot go because my mother will be beaten. So after some times, we became so close with the mother that I introduced the same story to the mother and told her, what do you think of this girl going to school? And she said, I would love her to go to school, but I don't know how she can go to school. She told me how everything had already been done and she was just waiting for her to go to school. To cut the long story short, after some time I was able to convince her to come to school. She escaped to school and she was my first girl to rescue. So she came to school with nothing. And I am happy that within a very short time, she found a sponsor. She was able to be sponsored to school and she started school. After that, the story went viral in the villages that it is possible for a girl to run to school and be rescued. Because when the father came after the girl, the police were called and he was arrested, handcuffed in front of everybody, and he surrendered. He said, no, I give up, let her go to school. So all the girls in the village, those girls in the village that heard about the story, were able, in the next few weeks, we had so many girls running to school. And now they knew where I lived. They knew my house inside the school compound. And in the morning, I could wake up very early in the morning to prepare my boys for school. And when I opened the door, a girl was seated just next to the door. even at 5, some of them could escape from very far at night. We live in a very animals are everywhere, wild animals are everywhere. So they could escape even at night, 3, 4, 5 in the morning from the village before everybody wakes up and come to school. And they only knew where my house was. So I would open the door and find a girl seated next to the door and waiting for me to open and tell me whatever she wanted. So I started getting worried because as a single mother, as a single woman, in this culture, you have to have guts to face the men. So I started having issues with men because of their girls running to me. And the first thing they could say, what can an unmarried woman tell our girls? She wants to teach them not to get married like her. To take my story back, I was married for 12 years. I wasted 12 good years in a marriage that never worked. I don't want to talk about my marriage because of so many things that I don't want to discuss now. But in this community, an unmarried woman has no place. Like men don't see you like anything. As much as I was single, I was a woman. In this society, women are just there to be seen, but not to be heard. So I was stepping on men's toes by encouraging girls to escape for education. So within no time, it became a very big issue, a very, very big issue that affected my teaching career. So I had to be transferred from one school to the other just to destabilize me. I didn't give up. What I gave up is my career. I gave up my career after 12 years of teaching so that I could pursue my passion of rescuing the girls from early marriage. Within a very short time, it was known everywhere. Girls could run from even very far other areas because they knew when they came to the school that I was, they could get rescue and support. Most of the girls were followed by their parent to school. The father would come and cause chaos in the school because of what he had already taken dowry. He was rich with cows, and now you are taking away this girl from him. So he has to return back what he had taken from the men. So it was causing a lot of tension between me and the community. The good part about it is it's against the law to marry off a minor. It's against the law to force them to go through the cut. So every time they could cause problems, the chief, the police were on the school side or on our side to support for the girl to go to school. So within 2 years, I was stable. I was doing whatever I liked and comfortably with no fear. I had quitted my job and now I was free. No one could use my bosses to torment me, to harass me. So I was now free and started thinking about starting the organization. By the time I was starting the organization, I had rescued more than 70 girls, some of them who are still being sponsored through my organization, and many of them who are sponsored by different other organizations. The good part is starting the organization has given me a voice to be a voice for the voiceless. I was once homeless because when I quitted teaching, I had to be forced out of the school compound, and I had to go rent a small house with all my boys and live there. When Margaret visited Kenya, she talked about me giving her my room. It was the only room I could give her, so I had to live in a very small room. I was totally homeless. Mind you, in Africa, when you're married, you become your husband's property. So when I came out of marriage, I didn't have a home, I didn't have land. So the only way I could survive is by renting a home, a house. With no salary, I could not rent a big house, so I could only rent a small house that can fit me and the boys. Any visitor who would come, I would shift, maybe sleep on the floor or sleep on the couch so that someone can have space in my bedroom. So I know how it feels to be homeless. My slogan is, we rise by lifting others. We rise by lifting others. Someone somewhere, a friend, knew about how I was struggling, how I had a lot of difficulties without a salary, without a husband, without anybody taking care of me, conflicts with people, and I was homeless. So a friend whom I'm not going to mention here, but I know she's live, she's watching, supported me to have a home. I currently have a very nice home, courtesy of friends, courtesy of people lifting me. That is why I'm saying we rise by lifting others. Now, because I was helped to rise, I am now running a program whereby I help widows and less privileged women who have been suffering because of gender-based violence. I am helping them, me and my sponsors and the sponsors that I am connected to. We are helping them have homes. We are building homes for widows. We are building homes for single mothers. We are building homes for women who have been involved in gender-based violence. Having a home is the best thing that a human being can have. You can have everything. You can have whatever you can achieve so much in your profession. You can achieve so much in whatever someone is doing. Without a home, everything feels useless. So most of the times I find it fulfilling being able to give someone somewhere he can live, or after a very stressful day, after a very long day, hustling to get food, hustling to work for the kids, at least have somewhere you can call home, somewhere you can rest your tired body and sleep. So that is one of the programs that we are doing. And we are also feeding some of the families. There are families that cannot afford food, especially during the coronavirus. The 2020 was a very hard year for everyone, but the Namunyak Foundation was able to feed 35 families. All the girls that we sponsored, their families, we were able to feed them for 4 months, the most crucial months of 2020. We were able to feed them with food every week. And there are those that were able to pick up and be able to feed their families after 2020. But there are those that even today, they cannot be able to feed their families, especially the single mothers and the widows. It's very hard for them to feed their families. So we do that weekly. We feed a few families each week. Let me talk about the rescue program. It's a technical thing to get a girl out of the village and take her to school. Immediately you take that girl out of the village to school, you become responsible for everything that happens to her. If she makes it in life or she makes it in a higher education, you have to be able to guarantee her education up to a level that she will be able to get a job or a course, so that she can go back to the village and show other girls that this is what happened. I went, I'm back, I'm different. So I don't have a rescue home where I keep these girls. Although now that I have a house, I have few that don't go home. They prefer staying with us. And I have a small room that they share. Sometimes I have 4, 5, 6 girls who decide that this time round, I'm not going home for break because I don't feel safe. So I don't have that home, a safe home for them. I share my space with them. And every time they come, they feel at home, they feel secure. During 2020, when all schools were closed, many girls were exposed to dangers like early pregnancies. Many of the girls got pregnant. I have few from the program that got pregnant because this girl has gone back to the village that she ran out of. These young men are still there. The parent is still mad because you went and I had to pay back the whatever I had taken. So they don't even take care of them. They don't even mind what happens to them. In fact, they are exposed to men, young men, and they get pregnant so easily so that they can drop out of school. And after they get pregnant, the girls, the mothers are under the men, and the father will say, I don't want any child who is not mine being brought up in this home. So she has given birth, she goes to her husband. So most of the girls during the 2020, when they were out of school, dropped out of school because of pregnancies. You can imagine a 12, 13, 14 young girl going to be married and being someone's wife. A stranger who you don't even know about. A stranger who will treat you like one of his properties because he was able to pay to buy you. So these girls go through a lot of hardships when they are married young. And I try my level best to convince the parents, if a girl gets pregnant, the mother takes care of the baby as the girl continues with her education. Most of them have adapted, and the government is also working on how to make sure that girls go back to school when they get pregnant. The rescue program is a risky thing because if you take a girl and the parents refuse to take her back, you will have to take the burden or to take the role of the parent. Financially, you have to take the role as a provider, education, and even a home. So the biggest challenge I have, or I am experiencing now, is a home for these girls, a place that they can call home, a place that they can feel safe and they can feel protected. I have my life and my story as Grace is a sad story. I have been through a lot. Rejection. I've been through opposition. I've been through so much. But my life or my story would be meaningless if I had not taken the chance of helping these young girls to get an education. Because if I never went to school, I don't think I would be able to be doing this. If I never knew the small English that I know, I don't think I would be in this forum today, telling of my story and saying of the things that young Maasai girls go through to be able to help them. In so many ways, I feel like whatever I am doing because God saved me. God helped me. I owe everything to God. Every time I do something small, I thank God because I am able to return what God has already done to me and do good to other people. My driving force is a candle loses absolutely nothing by lighting another candle. I am a candle. I know I don't lose anything by lighting someone else's candle. And putting someone else's candle off does not make your candle to light brighter. The more our candles are, the more the light. I'm here to share how faithful and how great God is. I was someone that could not be heard anywhere, but God made it possible for me to be heard here and even outside. I'm so grateful to be here tonight. I didn't want to say my life story because it's a sad story, and I want to share a happy story. I can say I'm someone who can say it is possible. I want to give a story of hope, a story of possibility and resilience. So I'm happy to be here. I would love to be to talk more, but I don't want to take a lot of time. I can talk and talk and talk up to tomorrow, but I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, Grace, thank you so very much. Thank you. Let me change my screen here. Thank you so very much. That was awesome. And you did leave a message of hope, encouragement, and inspiration. And it was just awesome. And some of the things that you said, one in particular, we rise by lifting others. I love that. We rise by lifting others. And I'm so grateful to God that you were consistent, persistent, you were bold. It's so much in what you shared with us on today. And I know there are several messages that we can have as a takeaway as to the strength, even to the point of listening to God, because you could have gone in a little corner with what has happened in your life. You have gone into a corner and not felt like helping anyone else. And then the young ladies, now we in America, we can't even, some of us can't even think about the fact of some of the things that you have experienced in your life. But one thing we can do is to pray. And I do know prayer changes things. That's not the only thing we can do. And again, we want to be able to assist you. So between us remaining in contact with you and our Margaret, we will make sure Project 365 Trophy of Life will do something that will be able to help these young ladies. And getting married or sold into marriage around the 12-year-old age, that is something we just can't even fathom in our minds. But it does happen around the world, and more so in your country. So again, we here on this screen and those that are in our Project 365 audience, or ones that are instruments for God. We're instruments for God, and we are to help, not just to pray, but we are to help however we can, whether it's financial, getting the word out to other audiences or organizations that will support. Yeah, and you look like, we have a saying here in our culture that says, you don't look like what you've been through. And you
Yeah.
definitely don't. You don't look like what you've been through. But know that however we can help, we will help, especially the part of widows. I am myself a widow, and I know the strength of being a widow. I know the power in being a widow. And in the prayers of a widow for another widow, oh yeah, I believe God is, come on, come on. God is going to open some doors. God is going to open some doors for us that we may help you. To our Project 365 audience, this is something that we're going to connect with. This is not the only thing that we're going to do. This is not the only thing that we do. But with your help, with your tax deductible contribution, we're going to do something. Okay, I feel Holy Spirit. So let me pass this. I'm going to pass it on to you, Takira, because it is what it is. We're praying for you. Just know that. We're definitely praying for you, okay?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I just want to say to you is that you are truly a hero in my eyes, and I'm sure in many eyes of others. I wrote down some of the things that you said that you do, and even if you just did one of these things to make a difference, oh my gosh, like you are changing. I don't know if you realize this, you are changing the world. And this is what we mean by changing the world, guys. It doesn't take much. So one, you just being responsible for the girls that you've helped and having to carry that weight, that's a job in itself. And you do it so eloquently, and it's not like a big burden or anything to you, which is so good. And you combating gender-based violence and finding homes and feeding
Amazing.
families and providing safety and education. You are really catering to young women, like the whole young woman, food, shelter, body, mind, and spirit. And that's something I think that's really, really commendable. You are so brave and so bold and so courageous. And one thing I think that anyone can take from this that has been watching or that will watch this video is that it does not take much for you to make a difference in someone's life. You just have to take that step. I'm sure when she said, you know what, I see this need, these girls need to get education. They shouldn't be getting married off at the age of 12. She didn't have a bajillion dollars to say, let me just start this organization. No, she worked with what she had. And all you have to do, honestly, to start changing anyone's life and changing the world is have the heart for it. Once you have the heart for it and your intentions are pure and you just want to help someone, I'm telling you, God will make a way for it to happen. And I really like how you said, you're rescuing one girl at a time. And you see how you rescuing that one girl, word got out, and now you're rescuing girl after girl after girl after girl. And it just grows like wildfire. And that's something that's so commendable and something that all of us can learn from. You don't have to save the world in one big chunk. Just work in your sphere of influence and you save that one person at a time. Just like we render hope, encouragement, and inspiration, like one guest, one person at a time, it spreads. And that's what's needed to make a big difference in the world. So one, thank you for sharing with us today. And thank you for just being brave and bold. We need more people like you in the world, for sure.
Definitely. It's beautiful. The work you've done is beautiful. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate you. And I think this is the beginning of something that God is smiling upon. And we don't know where it's going to take us, but we make ourselves available. We make ourselves available. Before we close, I wanted to make sure our audience goes to my Facebook page. This is day 237.
Woo.
This is the 237th consecutive days of rendering hope, encouragement, and inspiration. And I wanted to let our audience know that I had added some pictures of Grace and some of her students. So please go back and view those pictures. And also don't forget, you can always go to our YouTube channel and view the video right there. Don't forget, day 237. All right. Margaret,
Okay,
did you have any closing? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Grace.
Okay, before we end the program, I have a few friends I would like to say thank you to them. I know maybe she's live. She's live on Facebook. I have a very, very dear friend. Her name is Laurie Wall, and she has been so supportive in whatever I'm doing. All the projects, the home projects, the girls project. She's sponsoring 7 of the girls that we sponsor and 1 boy. And she has been helping me with the program of the building homes, the feeding program. I have so many dear friends. I have a very, very small circle, but very, very genuine and dear friends. Laurie Wall, Kimberly, Becky, I have Margaret here. I have so many others that I am so blessed to call them my friends. And now I have Yuta, Kira, and Portia. I'm adding my circles. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
This was just so wonderful to listen to Grace tell her story and to remind me of why I do what I do, because I also, in the programs that we run, have rescued several girls from early marriage, and not quite in the same way as Grace has, but we were able to give them an education so that their fathers did not feel the need to marry them off. And so this work is so important because girls are beginning to have value over here. They're beginning to know that they are valued. They're beginning to know that they are cared for and that they can have a life of their own outside of just being property of someone. And the work of rescuing girls is so important, and of building homes for mothers. Grace and I work in 2 different areas, but we do pretty much the same thing. And that's why we're soulmates. So thank you.
It's all good. It is all good. Now we're a part of the same team. So, we take a little bit to this organization, a little to this organization, a little. We just help where we're supposed to help. We help where we're purposed to help. So God will lead and direct us in what to do. One of the things I wanted to say before we close is that, remember how we always say Project 365 is going across the whole wide world? Well, we have the state of Utah represented today. We had the state of Maryland represented today, and we had the Kenya, out of Kenya, thousands of miles away, represented today. So God is faithful, and this is only the beginning. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to leave you for today, and we are going to be here tomorrow with another guest who will be able to offer hope, encouragement, and inspiration. Thank you for joining us today. We shall see you tomorrow. Bye, Grace. Bye, Margaret. Bye, Takira.
Bye.
Bye, Grace. Bye, Takira, Portia.
Bye.
Bye-bye.